Good evening, fellow sufferers. Once again, coming to you from the isolation chamber atop Gilmore World Headquarters in Oakdale. I've consulted the orb tonight, and it said, move along. So, here we are. In late '69, I went to work for Sam Ash Hempstead. I'm going this way because I got a big one here tonight. It was an education. I went in there with my Hagstrom, and I realized that nobody's playing Hagstroms. These guys are all like pro and semi-pro, and I'm meeting guys who are like Leslie West and shit like that over the counter and all. It was an exciting time. I mean, you could walk up to a show like you wouldn't believe. I mean, most of our folks weren't gone by that. But at any rate, I digress. I went to a job agency, and they said, we got a place in town here that wants, that needs help. And they got me the gig. I went to work with Mel Fields, the manager. Meyer Lipschitz was the front counter manager. With, what's his name? John Small, I think it was. Bob Burkow, Jerry B. Just a bunch of people. Oh, and my first exposure to an absolutely full-fledged alcoholic was Andy Alweiss. What a character. Would stop at the Chinese restaurant next door and get a quart martini to start the day. Before then, he didn't even know how to speak English. Once he had that drink, he was God's own salesman. He could sell you a tree and tell you it was a guitar. And it worked. But hopefully he's still alive. I don't think I'm blowing anybody's cover by saying he was running guns to South America, but he was. What a character. You don't meet many of them anymore, you know. Everybody's pretty much buttoned down and feeling good about things. Hopefully that works out for us all. Anyway, I shopped like a crazy bastard, man. I was trying out instruments because they had stock. Worst thing I tried was the Gretsch Monkeys bass. It weighed as much as my car. And it was a backbreaker, man. It really was. I don't know how Peter Tork must have worked out. But yeah, I'm just tuning this now because I want to tell you the rest of the damn story. This afternoon, I was shopping basses. I tried everything. Gibsons, Guilds, Fenders. I had sort of settled on Fenders, but it was between the jazz bass and the Precision. And the jazz bass had just such a small neck, and I felt if I'm going to play guitar, I'll play guitar. You know, because it was just lending itself to being like a very fast player. At any rate, we got a call from the Manhattan store that Procol Harum was in town and they needed an SVT. This is 1970. Everybody had a Volkswagen or a Datsun or an MG or something like that, but not me. No, I went big time and bought my English teacher's 54 Buick Century. Massive motor, room for a small colony of foreigners or whatever inside of that thing. I could take a full SVT and not even be compromised. Both cabinets and the head. Okay, so I loaded up. I drove into Manhattan, and there in the window was this. Pretty much just the way you see it now. See if I can get my face out of here and get the instrument in the picture without knocking everything over. This is a 1970 Fender Precision bass. My favorite question I get asked when people see it is it American? For you kids, in 1970, there wasn't anything but American. So this is an American. This thing would probably sell for a ton of money today. Scratchy, gotta clean that. But it's not going anywhere. I learned how to break shit doing this thing. I took it apart, put it back together. It ran. It had internal effects in it at one point. It had an EQ on it. It had all kinds of nonsense. And in the right light, you can see where I filled the holes for the, I put wooden plugs in where I put more pickups. This thing had 2 sets of precision bass pickups. DiMarzio's were the ones. On the back, you can't see it, but there is I can find it somewhere. Right here. I had the controls loaded from the back. I burned the paint off this thing in an acid bath in 1978, and you can still smell the acid bath. It's not something you want to do, but it really worked because, I mean, I was chiseling this paint. Oh, and another thing, this was a custom color, which meant extra money. Okay. When I took the finish off of it, let's get that glare out of here. I found out that this custom color, ash-bodied precision base, was made up of 3 separate pieces of wood. One here, and one here. So it was not an exemplary model of the type. It was a friggin' mess. I mean, I took it apart. I couldn't believe that I was getting, like, glued together pieces of wood at a premium price. At any rate, I've made this my own over the period of time I've had it. Let's get up to the top here somewhere. Okay. Oh my God, is that backwards? Sure it is. You can see the burn marks where I used to leave my cigarette in here. Yeah, I had habits. It's when I got it. I mean, if you notice, one of these tuners is like super shiny. This one here. When it came into Hempstead, and I opened the case up and looked at the box, and it had been bashed around, so this tuner was bent. So I dropped downstairs to Werner and Wycliffe's domain, and I got myself a new tuner. This is the new tuner. I can't keep a pair of sunglasses a week. This is the original string tee. These are the original tuners. This is the original hardware, the covers that nobody likes to use except me. This and this. The knobs are original. This is an EB3 thumb rest, which I kind of grabbed. One was laying around down the basement. I grabbed it, got rid of that plasticky one, and put that on. There's more. This has a Seymour prototype pickup in it with switchable Q, which is the capacitance rating. You really probably can't see it, but nah. Yeah, there's the little red dot there. There's 2 dip switches, 3-position dip switches right on the pickup, so you can adjust the sound of the pickups. This has a Badass 1 bridge, or the original Badass 1s, because it would fit under the cover. The 2 is huge. It's a plate and it bolts right into all the holes. And the next thing you want to find out about this is, I don't know if I can actually point it out. Everything on this instrument has been relieved. The neck plate is its own thickness deep into the body. The neck itself is 1/8 of an inch deeper into the body than it came factory. The bridge is also mounted deep into the body. It's running, they are active pickups. So this is what they would probably call a resto mod if it was a car. It's running an 18-volt system. Yeah, 18, because of the headroom. You know how that works. Every significant thing I've done on a bass has been done with this. At any rate, after struggling all day trying to get this thing to download somewhere I can use it, I wound up giving up and putting it on YouTube. So, I'm hitting my 10-minute mark right now. Hopefully you found this instructive. I'll answer any questions you got. In the meantime, this is number 2. This was my first real professional instrument. And I drove this thing until it ran out of gas. And then I drove it a little further. It's been a good friend of mine now for 50 years. 51, no, 50, it's 20. Next one's going to get real interesting, so stick around, folks. Where do I stop this now?